Definitely, Nampo. Good afternoon to you, and of course to our SABC viewers. And just to update those numbers, as we stand right now, 59,272 candidates have been captured. Online, you have 944 independent candidates, and of course, manual capturing will then conclude by the end of business today. Of course, we know that the deadline was extended last night to 2100 hours, but actually the time had actually then closed at 21:34 minutes, and 74 political parties, or candidates rather, were actually affected, including 2 political parties. But to join us further and to talk to us about this matter, we're joined by the DCEO, Mr. Masego Sheburi. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to speak to us once again. Mr. Sheburi, there probably is a problem, or some candidates would actually have a bone of contention with them trying to submit their candidate nomination list, but unfortunately did not meet the time. About 74 candidates were actually affected, including those 2 political parties.
The candidate nomination process opened on the 3rd of August this year. So parties had until 1700 hours yesterday to submit their candidature. The Commission, having received representations, extended the period to 2100 hours. We are satisfied that the majority of contestants who wanted to contest had time to submit their candidate, albeit working under time frames. The law provides that there is a cut-off time. That is in order to make sure that you can have proper administrative arrangements to ensure that the right to stand for office has meaning. It is true that there were 74 candidates that were captured on our online system beyond the 2100 cut-off time. We have excluded those from the candidates for these elections. Everyone who submitted by 2100 hours or who was captured by 2100 hours will be included as a candidate and be subjected to the normal verification process for candidates.
And I'm going to try push my luck. I know that list will be published on the 7th of September later on this year, but could you perhaps tell us who those 2 political parties are?
The country will know on the 7th when we publish the list of all political parties that have met the requirements, including the names of the candidates on each of those parties' list. That list will be made available on the 7th.
Now, let's talk about the events that actually happened yesterday around this time outside the offices of, the Commission. We saw ANC members coming to raise their dissatisfaction over this process or over the system. Yesterday, we managed, in a press briefing that was held by the ANC at 8 p.m., we managed to ask the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC what the problems were, and they had said that these are branches from Tshwane, the ANC branches from Tshwane, who were not happy about the candidates that the community had actually, somewhat elected. I mean, what were the conversations that you had with these branch members yesterday as a Commission?
It is unfortunate that those persons felt the need to resort to staging their protest and directing it and their anger at the Electoral Commission when it has no lawful responsibility with respect to an essentially internal party process. We have tried to prevail on them that they can come here, but we won't be able to assist. Their matters must be addressed with their political party, and that's what we told them.
So let's just say, for argument's sake, just for example, I'm a candidate and I had submitted my name, but of course I was a part of those 74 candidates who did not make the submissions on time. What happens then? Do I then get back my deposit money? What happens?
In that case, you are not a candidate and you have not met the requirements. The money will be refunded to you. However, if you are a candidate and you appear on the ballot paper for that election and you are an independent candidate, you require about 10% valid votes for you to be refunded your deposit. Similarly, a party that gets a seat will have the total deposit in respect of that elections refunded.
In terms of the candidate nomination process, just briefly summarize what then happens from today, the 21st of August, till the 7th of September. In between, what happens then?
From today, we will be dealing with the 59,000 candidates that have been submitted, a process of validation to check if they meet all the requirements of the law. And by Friday, we will give each of the parties indication that some of their submissions are not compliant. They will have opportunity until Monday, the 30th, to correct those. On the 31st, we will notify all political parties if they have a Natasha Phiri appearing on the list and also appearing on the list of another party. Parties will have until the 2nd to correct that, and we will publish the final list of parties and candidates on the 7th of September.
Mr. Sheburi, over 10,000 municipal seats have been contested. Talk us through that process. And I think during the briefing, I heard that 2 political parties will be contesting all these seats. Can you tell us who those 2 political parties are, please?
Indeed, there are 257 municipalities in the country. So there are 2 parties that are contesting in each of those municipalities. The names of those parties, like the names of other parties, will be revealed on the 7th. The number of seats, as you correctly indicated, are 10,400 contested for these elections, and as we speak, we have just under 60,000 candidates. The number will increase as we finalize the capturing at our local offices today. As we speak, the number compares favorably with the number of candidates in 2016. In that election, we had 63,000 candidates competing for 10,200 seats. So you might appreciate that on the date the results are announced, there will be a lot of people who will not be happy with the outcome of the elections.
Now, this process also happens at a time where there's much uncertainty, especially around the Constitutional Court ruling. We're still awaiting that. I mean, what are the expectations from, the IEC side?
Because we are a law-abiding institution, and to the extent that there is a lawfully called election on the 27th of October, we have no option but to prepare for that election and deliver that election. We are, however, in anticipation that the court may be with us in the prayer that we ask them, also preparing for an election on the 27th, in February in 2022. So until the court speaks, we will run 2 parallel processes, and when the court makes its decision, we will have to abandon one election timetable and run with a live election timetable.
Talking about the election timetable, just to put people or South African citizens, especially those who didn't get the time to, change their voter registration details, if the ConCourt rules in your favor, then this means that a new voter registration weekend will then be proclaimed and people can change or register to vote. What does it also say about this process, the candidate nomination system as well?
Indeed, if the court rules in our favor and defers an election to some point beyond the 1st of November, that increases the chances of that election being constitutionally compliant, because we are able to cure a number of shortcomings that are attended to the 27th of October election. The first one is that we will be able to organize a general voter registration, open all 23,000 voting stations to enable people to register to vote, especially young persons, because they are disproportionately affected by lack of opportunities to register. Also, to improve the compliance of the election, in that persons who want to stand as candidates and may have changed residence will have an opportunity to update their details. As it relates to candidate nomination, we will issue a new timetable which will restart the candidate nomination process. So parties that have made submissions may opt in that instance to retain their list as they are, or to amend their list, or submit totally a new list for that election. So it will be a totally new election with its new timetable.
Mr. Sheburi, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure having you on the channel. Of course, Dompo, there you have it from the DCEO of the IEC, Mr. Sheburi, just talking about today's briefing. The IEC, they're releasing those preliminary reports on the candidate submission list. And of course, you've heard it, over 59,000 candidates have been captured. Out of those, independent candidates were 944. And of course, the manual capturing of those candidates or names will be concluded by the end of business today. Also, unfortunately, for those 74 candidates, including those 2 political parties who could not make that cut-off time, their names will not be submitted when the candidate names are to be published on the 7th of September. I guess some of those political parties are also pinning their hopes on the Constitutional Court to actually, grant the relief that the IEC is seeking, because if that then happens, then a new IEC timetable will be published, meaning that the voters' roll will then be open again, and meaning that parties will either submit new candidate nomination lists to this commission. As for me, Natasha Phiri and Kina, it's back to you in studio.
Thanks very much, Natasha, for that comprehensive reporting.